Hey guys, another Randcast short for you. The signature spot, like you kids say, I F's with it. I love how they view wrestling. They love the sport. They love the industry, and they worry about the little things, and they worry about and think about the activity knowledge, man. Today, I happened upon this post about Stone Cold Steve Austin, who became arguably one of the best draws over the last 30 years. And I'm not saying the best, I'm saying one of the top draws over the last 30 years in the sport of pro wrestling. Well, the reason I'm bringing up Austin is I thought you guys would appreciate the fact that I was there at World Class Championship Wrestling in the Sportatorium when Steve broke in. I came in right after he just started having his first handful of matches, and he was working with his trainer then, Chris Adams. So here was the deal, and I'm not going to say names or name names, and I'm not trying to bury anyone, especially Chris Adams, but this is how the industry has typically went. So Chris was one of those guys, man, who paid his dues like a son bitch and made his way over here and drew a hell of a lot of money, but he drew most of his money with an outstanding storyline where he and Gino Hernandez were the top heels down in Dallas, working with the legendary Von Erichs, And as Steve was going into that last 10-year period where you passed the torch, he started training guys. And Steve was one of the guys that he was training. When I broke in and I first started there in the locker room, I met Steve, and the guy was larger than life. I'm going to go ahead and say his size and his body was probably better then than it was when he was a top draw, And that's no slight whatsoever. He just altered his body so he could move and stay healthy in the ring. Now, back to what I was saying about not wanting to burn people or, call them out or anything like that. But at the time, there was a lot of criticism about how Adams got lucky getting this big guy to pay him for training, and then this great big guy to essentially put him over as he was an old guy, in their opinion, not wanting to go into that dark good night as a performer. Do you know what I'm saying? And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not hating on Chris Fort because, there might have been some of those motives there in regards to ego, but at the end of the day, Chris had earned his spot to have an ego. He was that good. He'd been around that long. He was that established. And at the end of the day, it was outstanding for Steve because Steve got to work with a veteran who'd really been there, done that inside the ring. See, that's the thing with training, okay? Every idiot and any idiot can go out there and learn to take bumps and blah, 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 blah. But you got to learn why. You got to learn who, what, when, where, why. And that activity knowledge was outstanding for Steve, especially at that stage in the game. Now, that being said, that put Steve on the map where other companies saw something in him. Steve was known as, I swear to God, the old-timers were comparing him to a Terry Bam Bam Gordy at the time. And for you fans or you smarks or you idiots, it's not about the body type or the style of work. It was about the attitude. They used to say Steve would go to the top of the Sportatorium and take a bump off the roof if they asked him to. And that's what, attracted the other companies, in particular WCW, to Steve. Now, this is something that you don't know, and this was the truth, and I can't remember who it was, but I want to go ahead and say I think it was Bill Watts. When WCW signed Steve, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat had other businesses and was doing well, and he was on that downturn. He didn't have to wrestle anymore. He had enough money saved and enough investments and enough to do where he didn't have to wrestle anymore. Well, they literally signed Ricky to a 2-year deal, and in the 2-year deal, you can go and check the history for yourselves if you want to. His job was to work with Stone Cold Steve Austin because they were investing in him. Do you see what I'm saying? That was Ricky's sole purpose. Yes, the money was good, but I think Ricky was also very, very stimulated about helping bring that guy along inside the ring. And that's attributed to the attitude that Steve had. You see what I'm saying? He was a hungry guy who wanted it. He was willing to pay the dues, he was willing to pay the price, and as a result, man, the rest is effing history. You know what I'm saying? I can remember now, so he goes from WCW to WWF at the time. WWF wasn't sure what direction the company was going. You know what I'm saying? Were they doing okay? Yes. Were they doing what they were doing before? Was Vince satisfied with the way things were going? I'm going to say no. But they brought Steve Austin in, and they didn't know what exactly they wanted to do with him. They just wanted him so nobody else could have him, and they just wanted him because they saw something in him. Well, as a result of that, he kind of got lost in the shuffle, and he was saddled with that horrible ringmaster gimmick, you know? And it was not Steve. And now I run into Steve again because at the time I was in charge of booking extras in the Midwest for WWF. And I remember when I brought these green kids in there, we went to a building. I can't remember what town it was because I'm not good with that. And I can't remember what year it was because I'm not good with that. But there was a section of chairs outside the locker room. So we went ahead and set up camp there because, you know, you had to watch that shit. Sometimes you didn't just walk into the locker room and take over with extras because your young guys could be susceptible to being branded as idiots or assholes, you know, and nobody wants that. So we went off into that corner, and one of the kids sat down in a chair that had a shirt hanging on it, and the sleeve of that shirt ended up being underneath the leg on the kid's chair. Now, I hadn't seen Steve since Dallas, so a handful of years had passed. But he was still the same guy when I saw him and said hello, and more than just passed him in the hallway. But you could tell the guy was stressed out, you know. He knew that he had an opportunity of a lifetime. This is what he'd worked his ass off for. And now it was uncertain because even he knew that ringmaster shit was shit, you know. So Steve cut half a promo on this guy because the chair leg had wrinkled the dress shirt, you know. He cut a promo. He kind of shot on him. He was kind of being an asshole. And I just went ahead and took the shot and said, Steve, man, you know, I'm really sorry, but this is this kid's first time up here. He's nervous. He meant no harm by it. Well, to his credit, Steve comes up and goes, man, I am sorry. I'm nervous too, and just to let you guys know where I'm at, they don't know what they're going to do with me. This ringmaster shit isn't getting over, and that's the only dress shirt I own. I actually had that shirt ironed and starched today, and I stressed out and barked at you because now they want me on camera to do commentary. How the hell am I going to do commentary? You're right, and I'm sorry. And I thought that was really effing cool, man. And from that point on, man, at some point, Steve played his politics. He played his politics. He took his shots, and he handled, at the time, was a very, very, very stiff office. You had to go through a lot of people to get straight to Vince. But he got to Vince, he pitched an idea, and when he got the opportunity, he took more than his time or his share, his allotted scripted time, took the shot, and I'll be goddamned if it didn't get over, and the rest is history, you know? But anyway, at the end of the day, undeniable, Stone Cold Steve Austin, a guy that young people can learn from. There was so much more than just the stunner and the promo, guys. But you can look at Steve and see what Steve did, how he made the money that he made and became a household name even to today. The other thing I want you guys to notice is this. When Steve finally got on top and drew the most money that he drew, by technical standards, both knees were shot and so was his body. He altered the way he worked, and at the end of the day, no one in the world can say, even at that point, that Steve Austin was lazy in the ring. All right, guys, I hope you enjoy this, hearing from somebody that actually knew Steve, you know, and knew Steve from the beginning. Please like and subscribe and check out in the description how to support Premier Pro Wrestling.